Hello, and welcome to Old News, a podcast that highlights the most important and interesting events of each year. In this episode, it's 1968. On April 4th, a tragic event shook the world. Civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. King, who had been a steadfast advocate for nonviolent protest and racial equality, was fatally shot while standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. His death sparked widespread riots and mourning, but also strengthened the resolve of the civil rights movement to continue his legacy of justice and peace. In Vietnam, the conflict escalated with the Tet Offensive, a massive series of attacks launched by North Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces. It targeted more than 100 cities and outposts, including the U.S. Embassy in Saigon. Although the attacks were ultimately repelled, the offensive stunned the American public and eroded support for the war, leading to increased calls for withdrawal. In March 1968, President Lyndon B. Johnson surprised the nation by announcing he would not seek re-election. Confronted with the mounting opposition to the Vietnam War, widespread protests, and a deeply divided Democratic Party, Johnson's presidency had become increasingly unpopular. He chose to focus on peace efforts in Vietnam and addressing domestic turmoil, stating in a televised speech that he would step aside to allow someone else to lead during such turbulent times. Johnson's decision set off a battle for the Democratic nomination. Vice President Hubert Humphrey entered the race but faced strong opposition from anti-war candidates like Senator Robert F. Kennedy. Then, in June, RFK, brother of the late President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated in Los Angeles. He had just delivered a victory speech after winning the California primary when he was shot by Sirhan Sirhan, a Palestinian who held strong anti-Zionist beliefs. Kennedy's death was a devastating blow to a nation already reeling from the loss of MLK. In August, the Democratic National Convention in Chicago became a focal point of unrest, with violent clashes between anti-war protesters and police, broadcast live on television, highlighting the deep societal divisions over the war and civil rights. Despite the chaos, VP Humphrey emerged as the nominee. In the general election, Humphrey faced Republican Richard Nixon, former VP under Eisenhower, and third-party candidate George Wallace, governor of Alabama. Nixon campaigned on promises of law and order and peace with honor in Vietnam, appealing to a nation weary of social unrest and war. Humphrey, meanwhile, struggled to unify the Democratic Party. Wallace, advocating states' rights and segregation, gained strong support in the South. In the end, Nixon won the presidency with 301 electoral votes and 43.4% of the popular vote, while Humphrey garnered 191 electoral votes and 42.7%. Wallace secured 46 electoral votes and 13.5% by winning 5 states, the most by a third-party candidate since 1860. Nixon's victory marked a political shift towards conservatism, creating a new coalition of Southern whites, blue-collar workers, and suburban voters. Another significant cultural shift happened in France, with the May '68 protests, which saw millions of students and workers take to the streets, demanding sweeping social and political reforms. The demonstrations began against university policies, but quickly expanded to encompass broader grievances about capitalism, consumerism, and traditional institutions. This led to widespread strikes and nearly brought the French government to its knees, leaving a lasting impact on French society. On a more uplifting note was a historic achievement in the space race. In December, NASA launched Apollo 8, the first manned mission to orbit the Moon. Astronauts Frank Borman, James Lovell, and William Anders made a complete orbit and returned safely to Earth. During the mission, the crew captured the iconic Earthrise photograph, which showed Earth rising over the lunar horizon. This image became a powerful symbol of the fragility and unity of our planet. In the '68 Summer Olympics in Mexico City, American sprinters Tommy Smith and John Carlos made headlines when they raised their fists in a Black Power salute during the medal ceremony for the 200 meters, bringing attention to the civil rights struggle back home. Their act of protest became an enduring symbol of the fight for racial equality. And in film, 2001, A Space Odyssey followed a journey to Jupiter with the sentient computer HAL 9000. The mission uncovers mysterious monoliths that influence human evolution. Directed by Stanley Kubrick and based on Arthur C. Clarke's work, the film explores themes of artificial intelligence, extraterrestrial life, and human destiny. This has been Old News, a year in review. In the words of Winston Churchill, those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. We hope you continue listening. Stay curious.